Welcome to the Agency Success GPS podcast. In today's podcast episode, I am chatting with Alyson Caffrey. She is a wizard when it comes to creating SOPs and strategic planning for agencies. She's the founder and CEO of Operations Agency. Operations Agency helps digital and creative agencies flow more efficiently. They help teams execute high-value, high-speed projects with precision and provide the structure to do it repeatedly. Allison knows her stuff, and this is a great episode, especially with the additional hurdles in strategic planning around 2021, how to handle COVID, and more. Enjoy the episode. Allison, thank you so much for coming on. I just gave everybody a kind of a brief intro, if you don't mind. Tell them who you are in your own words.
Thanks, Lee. I'm really excited. My name's Alyson Caffrey, as I'm sure you already know. I am the founder of Operations Agency and creator of the Operations Simplified process.
And a new mom.
And a brand new mom. Yes. Brand new mom as of 3 weeks ago, which is so exciting. My husband and I welcomed our son. So yeah, thank you. We are just absolutely thrilled. But I think that one of the coolest things about being a new mom and probably just working from home in general is the fact that I got to take some time off. And so that's one of the big stress relievers for me, for my clients, is oftentimes we feel like something big is coming up and we don't have time to really adjust or pivot or be able to be kind to ourselves. And that's what I help people do. I help people be kind to themselves and be kind to their businesses and create systems that really they can leverage and really lean on when times like this come. So that's me in a nutshell.
And she is brilliant at it. I mean, we did a webinar, I don't know, a year ago, I guess. I can't remember when it was. It's sometime last year. And we talked about the difference between service framework and SOPs, but we go down that path. We'll be down there forever, right? So, but at the core, what Allison does is she comes in and she helps agencies get what's called their SOPs, standard operating procedures, in place and all documented. Walk through that process. Well, I think it's so cool how she does this. Walk through how you help them do that. First off, you've got a ton of templates. So you're not going to just ask them to start from scratch, like dream it up. So you give them the template and then you record, you tell them. I thought it's
Yeah. So we're most famous for helping agencies. I love kind of digging really, really deep into the service provider world, and agencies specifically are amazing because they get, big business in marketing and help people get lots of leads and generate lots of cool stuff. And it's really technical, right? Oftentimes what we do is a really, really technical craft. And so SOPs are super important for that, right? Being able to train up new people, being able to leverage the current team that you already have. So basically what we do is we walk through a couple of steps. We basically first do your strategy, right? So we take a look at what does your business model look like? What SOPs do you actually need? What services are you providing, right? Making sure that everything has a place, right? It's kind of like a puzzle that you need to put together first. The second thing that we do is we take a look at your assets. So your team members, the things that you've currently got in place, like your projects, your tools, those types of things. And then the final thing that we look at is the integration. So can we make things automated where we don't need a big lengthy process? We can maybe save you some money or some time. And then once all of that's wrapped up, what we do is we document your SOPs for you. So how that looks is we basically fold time in half for you, which is awesome. If you're already doing something, we want you to record your screen and send it to us. And then we basically create a shiny new SOP for your team to use. It's a pretty fun process for us, at least on our end, because we love organizing things.
And I just love the fact that, you're getting, I don't know if you use Zoom or Screen, I don't know who your Screencast or whatever they've got, but just record exactly what they're doing on the screen, send it to them. It can be an hour, 2 hours, it can be 10 hours. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Your staff will sit there and they will methodically go through, okay, they clicked that, they did this, So just record yourself, send it to Allison, and I thought it was so cool. I just thought it was super cool. It's not rocket science in today's world, but I just thought, why aren't other people doing this, right? So I just thought it was really cool. So, and you also have a vast library. I've already kind of mentioned the templates, and so explain a little bit about that. That's a very, very huge value add, in my opinion.
Yeah. And so Operations Agency has been alive for about 3 years now. And even before that, I was working in an agency as an ops person, just kind of helping them obviously streamline. And what I realized was everyone that came to us had kind of that base level need, right? How to use my project management tool, how to send invoices, how to send proposals, those types of things that really crop up a lot. And so what we did was we basically went through some of our most used tools and we created over 100 SOPs kind of standard for agencies. They cover anything from project management to setting up paid traffic in Facebook, to funnel creation, chatbot setup, like those types of things, really kind of bare minimum. This is the foundation that you need to start to build on to scale. And we've helped a lot of folks leverage and hire VAs really quickly with that, right? It's really, repeatable tasks that people can be doing really easily. So we put that together as kind of a way to boost our projects a little bit faster, because we are a quick-paced project type of agency. And so, yeah, I think that that's just gotten a ton of great results for people in the past, year or so since we've launched that.
Cool. Very, very cool. And it is. I a lot of times I've noticed this in my as I'm coaching again. I'm a newer coach. I've been doing it for about 2.5 years now. I still consider myself mastering my craft per se, right? Right. And it really does boil down to, a lot of times people just get paralysis by where to start. They don't know where to start. Mm-hmm. Actually, one of the reasons I just launched, during COVID, I reloaded everything. I optimized my product line, branding, and everything, right? So during that process, I was thinking about, how can I get more value? How can my students get more value out of the material I already had? Because the material was there. It's just and the people would get the material, but I wasn't seeing the forward movement with the materials, right? Mm-hmm. And so I really thought about that long and hard, and came up with it's called Success Premiered. 2 30-minute coaching calls a month. And what I'm doing is, I'm like a doctor prescribing you, go do this, and I'm holding you accountable, because they got the templates. And so same situation here. Mm-hmm. Getting started with those templates and kind of moving them forward, getting them out of the gate I found to be a total game changer, because now they got a template. Oh, I see what they're talking about now.
Right.
And okay, I can totally do this. This is not as hard as I thought it was. And now they're like, boom. Next thing you know, is what started out as a 1-page template turned into a 3-page badass, whatever it might be, scope of work or change, whatever it might be, right? Mm-hmm. And so it helped tremendously. And I know that my students and anybody who listens to any of my stuff would really appreciate that. So, okay, so we've got some questions, and I'm gonna get off into question number 1. You ready?
Sweet. Yeah, sounds good.
All right. So these questions are all dealing around operations. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so why are your ops so important for quarterly planning? Meaning, I'll just let you explain what you mean by that. So go ahead.
Yeah, no, totally. Quarterly planning is a really underrated effort to kind of pull your ops together and really set your project planning forward. To your point just earlier, Lee, I mean, even getting out of the gate is sometimes the hardest part, right? Just knowing with clarity where to move forward into the next step. So ops and quarterly planning really do go hand in hand. We recommend that all of our clients obviously plan quarterly, meet monthly to kind of check the pace, and then obviously track those things week over week and meet with their team about that. So that is an operational tool, right? A lot of people don't think about it, but if we can kind of fold quarterly planning, fold those meetings to check our pace into our ops, meaning we have weekly all hands meetings, right? We also have weekly planning meetings to take a look at where our quarterlies are. Those two things really do go hand in hand. Our actual planning meetings as well give us a really good platform to be able to look back on the past quarter and say, what can we systematize, right? It's a really great identification point for any issues that might come up, and we can really take a look at, okay, this came up last quarter. If we put in this system, or if we hire this new person and train them really well, we can really be, ahead of the game in Q4. And so coming up on quarterly planning here, it's just something that, should be top of mind for a lot of us right now.
Yeah, I will say people underestimate the importance of, strategic planning basically is what it boils down. Annual, quarterly, weekly, monthly, and then of course what's called SMARTs. Strategic, measurable, attainable, relative, and time-bound, I think.
Yep, that's right.
Okay. And so whenever you're doing your quarterly planning, you must do SMARTs to hold everyone accountable, right? And then at that point, you're following up on the SMARTs every weekly, monthly, however, it depends. Some SMARTs are like repetitive daily, and then some of them like it's going to take 6 months for it to be done. Just period, right? So, so you're just kind of following up with them, holding them accountable on a weekly, bi-weekly, monthly basis. I love it. So, and another thing that people underestimate the value of is what's called a company rhythm. Then I'm sorry, let me backtrack. What you were just talking about, I coach, it's called a company rhythm, right? So you have your weekly leadership team meetings, your monthly strategic planning meetings, and your quarterly strategic planning meetings. That's like a leadership team rhythm, okay? And then you'll have another rhythm for your project managers. That'll be your morning tailgating and your afternoon downloads. And then the downloads are not only with their staff, but with leadership to get the leadership KPIs in place. And so, you use what's called establishable rhythms, like your meeting rhythms for different departments, and there could be 100 meeting rhythms, different rhythms going on depending on the size. But that's another thing that can be used in your quarterly planning, like smarts, accountability, and things like that, is to get a rhythm in there and establish a good quarterly planning rhythm in there, so it works out wonderful.
Yeah.
So.
Most definitely. And that's operational, right? That's really
Yeah.
kind of folded right into the ops of your organization. Whoever comes in needs to understand that they need to be prepped for those. So yeah, they really do operate right next to one another.
Well, and actually, to your point, is a lot of people think that, well, you're just creating too many meetings. I'm like, no, I'm not creating. Trust me, I'm not who the hell wants to go to a meeting and do nothing? Nobody. But the difference is what a lot of people don't understand is the actual holding of the meeting can be the accountability. Mm-hmm. Okay, so if your programmers are if you're having a hard time getting programmers to hit deadlines, and you don't have a meeting rhythm in place, it's your fault. Welcome to the real world. Okay, so
very true.
I'm just calling it. It is what it is. So point being is, it's like these programmers just go. They know that if they stall, they'll get 2 weeks without having to talk to your ass.
Mm-hmm. It's very, very true.
No, they're not idiots. Yeah. These people are brilliant. They're brilliant programmers. Just because they play dumb on TV does not mean that they are. They know that if they stall, they can stall and get more time and get billable time. And it's so. And you're going to find out a great programmer has no problem with meeting rhythms. A shitty programmer cannot stand meeting rhythms because those meeting rhythms are holding their asses accountable. And bad programmers hate that. So if you implement a meeting rhythm and that programmer doesn't go like, oh, okay, this is pretty cool, it's going to save me some time. And they say something like this, oh my God, how could you? You're stifling me. What, next you're going to take my phone away or something? And here they start complaining. Okay, red flag. Get rid of their ass. I mean, just go ahead and just start getting, because that mindset's pervasive. They're milking the system. It's what they're doing. And
absolutely.
So it's so important. So, all right, question number 2. You ready?
Sure.
Why are your ops so important? I love this one, by the way. For project planning, quarterly. We just talked about quarterly planning, but now let's break it down to the individual project.
Yeah. I love this because oftentimes people will take on too many projects in a quarter and they'll say, oh, I want to do all these things, but without project planning, they have no idea the bearing that it actually has on their day to day, right? So ops is every day, right? We have a rhythm that we need to hit meetings wise. We have a rhythm that we need to hit on our to-do list. And when you break down a project and you take a look at, oh, we're doing 3 virtual events this quarter, or we're launching 8 new products this quarter, or we have 50 new clients this quarter, right? We have to understand how our goals and those projects kind of fit in with the day-to-day of our ops. So for the most part, what I personally like to do is write out a perfect week. It's probably one of my favorite exercises. What you want to do is you want to take a week in time for your leadership team. For the most part is what I like to do this with. I like to say, okay, leadership team, if I had my perfect week, what would this look like as it relates to my job description, right? So I'm meeting with key team members. I am holding people accountable to projects. I'm doing X, Y, or Z for client work, and I'm doing this for strategic planning, right? So let's just say those are the big 4. My thought process is that if these new projects and the workload that they present for your leadership team specifically don't coincide with one another, meaning they're taking over key descriptions of their job description, right? Means that we probably need to either hire a new person, we need to create a new system, or we probably need to push the project back a little bit.
All right, I got a question for you. I'm going to push back on that a little bit because
sure.
In a smaller, hey, I'm here to get results, right? So in a smaller agency, I hear what you're saying, but man, a smaller agency, sometimes in the morning I'm doing accounting, in the afternoon I'm doing SEO, and evenings I'm doing design. Tomorrow morning I'm going to be writing the code on this sucker. You know what I mean? So, so meaning a lot of times, not just the owner, but employees, they're having to go from one to the next, to the next, to the next. How do you handle that?
Yeah. So oftentimes when we look at our smaller agencies, what we really say to them is that a lot of your team members hold multiple roles. So for example, if you have someone who is an account manager who also helps do some of the heavy lifting, maybe with SEO, right? They're doing project management stuff kind of in one bucket. They're doing client communication in another bucket, and then they're physically doing the heavy lifting with SEO. So really what we need them to understand is that they have 2 roles. They're an account manager and an SEO specialist. And in that case, I would almost even do 2 exercises, right? This for this description of job description, and then for this job description. Because in my mind, once sometimes those two roles, as the agency grows, become more than 30 hours a week a piece. They need to separate that and hire another person. So that's why a lot of times when we're doing these project plans, we're not only taking a look at what everyone has on their plate, but we're also taking a look at potential new key hires that we could be making to help us get this project actually off and running and on time, right? Because if we give someone another 30-hour a week job, as it pertains to our project, then all of a sudden this person's working 90 hours a week. And is that realistic? And the answer is most likely no.
Well, and I mean, it's realistic for a week or two, you know what I'm saying? But it's definitely not realistic week in, week out. And another thing that we found is actually putting in buffer, like buffer time, in other words, like, okay, we all know that there's three of us, we're doing $250,000 in revenue. We sell a bunch of stuff, so all three of us have to do all two. There's no outsourcing it. We don't have the money, but we all take the money home, and so it's all good. So whenever you're doing this, you'll schedule out 3 hours for this role, 3 hours for this role. That leaves 2 hour, like a buffer, right? And that can be miscellaneous. Okay, that can be, if you happen to get everything done, which is kind of funny in an entrepreneurial world because that never happens, right?
Nope.
But you could have it. In theory, you actually might have a couple of hours left over at the end of the day, which I'm going to tell you right now, probably ain't going to happen. But in theory, you could. So, but again, me leaving that miscellaneous there. But I love what you just said about understanding the roles. One of our core values is understanding your roles and respecting, understanding your roles, respect the responsibility, or just whatever. Might have got that backwards. But long story short is that you honor the role, and whenever you're in that role, if in that morning you're a project manager, then own it. Be a Roman, act like a Roman. And that afternoon, if you're a designer, okay, do not take a project manager attitude in that. You're a subordinate. Okay, I mean, in other words, like if you're a project manager that morning, now you're designing for another project manager. Don't come in there and try to veto what this project manager's doing. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Meaning they are your boss at that time, even if you're one of the owners.
Totally.
You got to do it, man. You got to do it. And so what you're doing is you're building up the bandwidth for hiring someone to do that job, but somebody has to do that job, right?
Totally.
And it works out good when you structure it. Just a little bit of structure up on the front of that helps tremendously. So
most definitely. It helps manage some expectations too, really. It does, especially if you have clear SOPs in those roles, right? If the owner does find him or herself in a design type role or in an SEO type role, right, physically doing some heavy lifting, if we've got some SOPs, right, they know exactly what to do and how to, kind of handle that, and they can train the next person.
Definitely. All right. Question number 3. You ready?
Yeah.
Every time I say that, you start laughing at me. What's it?
I love it. I love how down to the fact you are. You're just like, here we go.
Let's make it easier on you. Make your lives easier. So, all right. Question 3: what role should my SOPs play in how I plan projects and execute quarterly planning? We just talked about this and execute quarterly planning.
Yeah. So executing projects wise, my favorite tool, besides kind of the perfect week from the strategy perspective, is using a scorecard. So really what that is, it boils down to, is a way to track key performance indicators of your quarterly goals, right? So something that I feel like needs to just manifest itself, and it takes a lot of hard work, right, is to really get clear on what numbers you need to be tracking. And we typically do this per quarter. Now they're your biggies, right? Your net profit and your gross profit and, your revenue and all that stuff. Right. But really what we need to do is we need to say, okay, we have this project. Really the key performance indicators are these couple of milestones, right? And we basically have what we call leading KPIs and following KPIs. So a leading KPI would be something like making cold calls, right? Reaching out, doing something proactive. And then we have following KPIs, which are results, right, of the work that you've been doing. And so we like to track those different types of KPIs. And obviously, depending on what your quarterly goals are, those would basically present themselves to you and you'd be able to track them. But really in project and quarterly planning, as it relates to ops, it's a really great conversation piece too for your meeting rhythm. It's just really, really a great tool to be able to leverage to get the results that you want to get.
Yeah, I find that KPIs are something everybody says they want, but the reality is they never actually take the time to go do one. They just never, and it can be a lot of work to get that set up, on the upfront, but it's not as hard as people think. It used to be really hard, but now it's not as hard as it used to be. We have what's called real-time KPIs, and we have what's called reconcile KPIs. And meaning that we set up our KPIs to where I can go look at my dashboard and see, in real time what the hell's going on, everything, refunds and all that fun stuff. Problem is that you have to understand at best it's probably 85 to 90% accurate, right? It's just, whatever. The system works where when you do a refund, it doesn't do that. Or what it's, I'm just trust me when I tell you, it's probably going to be at best 85 to 90% accurate. And so you have to kind of make sure that you do make decisions in real time, and you leverage those real time KPIs. But you don't make really big decisions off the real-time KPIs. You make sure and get those reconciled first before you do it. A little bit different than the lagging and pre and was it following and lagging?
Yeah, leading and following is what we call
leading and following. Okay, leading and a little bit different. But point being is that you have a structured categorization type system that works, right? And KPIs, I cannot stress to you how important they are out there. So. There's no way to overstate the value of good KPIs. So put the time into getting some of those KPIs in place. And if you're smart, you'll hire a guy like me or somebody like Allison to come in. It's already got a system to show you how to do it. If not, just get started. You know what I mean? Because you will thank us later. So, and you know where where people get hung up most times? They think they got to be perfect.
Yeah.
I can never get my KPIs because I can't get it perfect. Mm-hmm. KPIs are never going to be perfect. They're never, ever. They will never, ever.
And honestly,
be
what's better, right? Knowing nothing or knowing 85%, 90%, right? Really, it'll help you make really key decisions, to your point, that you need to be making every single day.
Every single day. And look, I mean, in the entrepreneurial world, whenever I'm 90% accurate, 90% of the time, you know what I'm talking about? I'll take that all day long. Does that make sense? I mean, are you kidding me? Like, my gosh, man. I mean, that would be a major improvement in my world, actually, So, I mean, because, I mean,
sometimes
I can't tell you how many times I'll throw stuff up against the wall and slide. I'm like, oh, that was stupid. You know what I mean? So, but, what are the repercussions now?
Yeah, sometimes the repercussions of waiting on a decision, right, and not being able to confidently move forward, right? It could cost you hundreds of ththousands of dollars if we're being honest, right?
Opportunity cost and paralysis by analysis. I see it.
Yes.
I broke during the rebranding. We did some internal categorization of our target audience. Because the needs were so dramatically different. For example, at the freelancer realm, that's 0 to 100,000. It's typically just a freelancer might have one, maybe two. 5 to 10 hour, like really part-time kind of contractors, well, what they don't need, they don't need $25,000 a year one-on-one coaching package. Even if they hired me to do that, there's no way they could keep up with the work. You know what I mean? Like that package is intended for an agency with teams. I'm working with the leadership team, and I'm like, okay, put me in with the project management team, and I'm going to basically swamp the project management team with SOPs and scope documents and everything. They're going to be working on that shit for 6 weeks, man. And then I'll go to sales and do that, so it's just not physically possible. So they don't need that. But what they do need is a simple guide like my book to get started. Very, very simple. It's not super complex. It's just a simple book. That's what's intended to do, to help you get out of the gates and not keep you from making all the stupid ass decisions that I made, right? Okay. And then in individual courses that in my Facebook group, that's all very affordable. It gives you tools and templates and all that fun stuff. And the next one, and the next one, and the next one. So I got down that damn rabbit hole. I forgot where the hell I was going with it. Oh, categorizations of your plate, just like your KPIs. You got to put them in categories, and you got to get them in this manageable structure that allows you to know where they fall, so you can serve and deliver your SOPs and KPIs in accordance to what they're looking for, right? So anyway,
Yeah. Typically when we categorize ours, we start with like 4 main buckets. We go attract, so your marketing, conversion, so your sales metrics, delivery, meaning whatever products and services you're leveraging, projects, things like that, and then systemizing and scaling. So what's next on the horizon? What do we need to systematize? So if you're struggling with where to start on those categories Lee was talking about, that's a really, really comfortable place to kind of chunk your business into 4 buckets, especially if you're one of the smaller agencies that's listening to this.
Definitely. So, all right, we have a little section of this thing called the shameless plug moment. So, fire away. How do people get in touch with you, and how can you help them? And you got any special offers, or what's up?
Yeah. So the best way to get in touch with me, honestly, is to just head over to operationsagency.com. That's my main gym and the main way that I help people. We're actually doing lots of things around quarterly planning right now, which is why I'm so happy that we were able to make this work and hang out and chat about it a little bit today. Because honestly, Q4 is coming up, and frankly, everyone had a crazy year with all of the pandemic stuff going on. So I think a chance to hit refresh and kind of hang out and really do some planning is prudent right now. So yeah, we're doing lots of group quarterly plannings with our clients right now. Obviously, there's more info on that on our website. But if you aren't looking at getting someone involved in your quarterly planning strategy, even if you are doing it on your own with your team, I just highly recommend doing that. That's honestly my shameless plug is please quarterly plan.
Right. Yeah. I'm telling you, it's like, I'm sorry, the planning part, I underestimated it. Same thing with the KPI, same thing with the leadership team. I was all, gung-ho and here I go, right? And ironically, the more I slowed down, the faster my business sped up, meaning the more I slowed down to do quarterly planning. The more I slowed down to actually wait on the damn KPI numbers, not what I think or feel is going to happen. Right. And actually wait on to get my leadership team's input and all these different things. Because you do have to grow up out of that dynamic entrepreneur, which is kind of what I was, and you got to, and then I grew up into what's called a CEO, right? And that CEO understands slowing down, understands KPIs, understands strategic planning. And that's how CEOs manage a $6 billion company with 55,000 employees. They had everything in buckets. They got everything in categories, and they know to go over here. That's the bucket. They switch their mindset from accounting to whatever the hell, sale, whatever the hell it is. And while they're in that bucket, they are doing exactly what they got to do in that bucket. They're looking at the KPIs. They also know exactly how it connects to the next daisy chain in the chain, right? Exactly. And so therefore you can go from bucket to bucket to bucket, like a different chain link, and that's your KPIs, and that's how you oversee 55,000 people. That's how you oversee, in my case, 43 employee, multi-million dollar agency, and I was only working 2 hours a week, looking at, kind of stuff right there. So I can't, and these are insensitive numbers, but that was fuzzy. I'll have to make sure. But anyway, but and so, but that's what that is. That's a KPI, a CEO founder meeting agenda for one of the, I don't know, February or something like that. February 2016, a few months before I sold my agency, and that's what I ran my agency on the last 2.5 years. 2 years is fly by the numbers, right? So I worked like 2.5, 3 hours. Yeah, exactly. So, alrighty, Allison, thank you so much for coming on board today, and I know you're super busy, and go enjoy that little baby. And,
Thanks, Lee.
Send me some more pics because I'm a big, I'm a dad, and I love him.
I certainly will. He's cutie.
Oh, you got to be cute if he looks like you. And I think I saw a picture of your husband. Anyway, I'm sure he's super cute. So.
Oh, thanks so much. I really appreciate you having me. It was a pleasure as always.
No, definitely. So, all right. Thank you so much.
All right.
Hello, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And of course, let's get you over to the next episode. If you have not already, make sure to subscribe to my podcast. And if you are not following us on YouTube or in our private Facebook group, make sure to get over there and check those out as well. And of course, we're also always available at marketingagencycoach.com. Look forward to seeing you at all those channels. And I hope you're having a wonderful day.